Welcome back to Life's Chalent. My name is Avital, and this week's Parshat is Parshat Vayeitzei. And in Parshat Vayeitzei, Jacob finally gets married. And Jacob marries Leah and he marries Rachel, who are sisters and the daughters of a man named Lavan. And also in this week's Parsha, things are moving quickly, and 11 of the 12 sons that Jacob is going to have are born in this week's Parsha, to Leah, to Rachel, and then to their two maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah, who Leah and Rachel gave to Jacob as wives to be sort of surrogates for them so that they would be able to have more children, to be destined to have the bigger portion of the 12 tribes, to be the mothers of these great nations. And Jacob, in the process of work, he had to work for Laban in order to marry Leah and in order to marry Rachel. And he worked 7 years first for what he thought who he thought was going to marry Rachel. But there's an interesting episode of deceit in this week's Parsha that I'm not going to get into at the moment. But in this there was a swap at the wedding, and he ended up marrying Leah first. So he worked 7 years for Leah and 7 years for Rachel. He worked for Laban 14 years for these two wives. And after this time, when Rachel, who had been infertile for quite some time, when she has her first son, Joseph, Jacob decides he's had enough. He's had enough with Laban. He's ready to go. And this is what he tells to Laban. He says, "It came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, 'Send me away, and I will go to my place in my land.'" We know from the Torah, the next verse that I'm going to read you, that Laban had been very blessed in sort of the financial sense by Jacob's presence. Jacob being there and working for Laban, God really had favor on Laban during this time, and he became really successful because of him, as the Torah tells us. And he said, "You know I have worked for you, and how your livestock was with me. For the little that you had before me has increased in multitude, and the Lord blessed you upon my arrival. But now, when will I too provide something for my household?" So I thought that was a very profound statement, in the sense of Jacob has worked for Laban for 14 years, and he's saying, when am I going to do something for my family? I have made it so that you are so successful, but when am I going to do something that's going to benefit my family and myself and the people who are close and important to me? When can I do something for myself? He's tired of working for somebody else. And so basically, Laban and Jacob, after this, they make a deal. And Jacob says, "Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'll continue to work for you, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the blemished animals. I'm going to take the animals that are spotted and speckled. And you, Laban, you can have all of the perfect looking animals. Those can be yours, and I'm going to take the ones that are blemished." And Jacob is a smart man. Jacob comes up with a way that to entice the spotted and speckled animals to mate with one another, so that their progeny, their children, are going to also be spotted and speckled. He's a smart businessman. He has a good head. And so all of the animals start being born spotted and speckled. And so Jacob is becoming wealthy. He's becoming so wealthy and amassing all of these livestock. And Laban becomes jealous. Laban becomes very jealous of this. And when Jacob gets word of this jealousy that Laban is harboring towards him for becoming successful, Jacob approaches Laban, and this is what he says. He says, "I have not brought home to you any torn animals. I suffered its loss. For my hand you would demand it, what was stolen by day and by night. I was in the field by day when the heat would consume me, and the frost at night. Sleep wandered from my eyes. These 20 years I have spent in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your animals, and you changed my wages 10 times. So Jacob is complaining, in a sense. He's saying that he suffered all the financial losses, that he was the one working hard, that he earned this in a sense. He was the one who was sleep deprived and working hard day and night in the cold and in the heat. He was working, and Laban wasn't even fair to him. Laban changed his wages 10 times. And he's saying that it was frustrating for Jacob. Can you imagine that he's been working for his father-in-law for now 20 years, and that his father-in-law is not content with him for becoming successful on his own, even though he's the one who put in all of the work. And I think that there is something really important that we can learn from this, which is the importance of doing something for ourselves. Now, I happen to be in business for myself. I'm very fortunate. Not everybody is in the position to be able to do so. If you can, it's really amazing, because at least when you are putting in the hard work, when you're the one who's out there day and night, when you are the one who's in the heat and in the cold, at least you're doing it for your own benefit, and at least you're doing it, to bring value to your family and to your own life. When you're sort of slaving away for somebody else, that doesn't feel as rewarding. You're like, I'm helping it so that they can have nice things and they can provide for their family. But what about me? Well, we don't all have the opportunity to be able to work for ourselves. And so I would say that the value of doing something for ourselves, when we are working for somebody else, even Jacob in this situation, he was still able to put food on the table for his family during those 20 years. And when we are working for somebody else, we have to say, what am I doing it for? Finding that purpose. I'm working for this person so that I can bring home food for my family. And in that sense, I am doing it for myself. I am doing it for myself and for my family. I may not have the ownership over the activity itself, but I am doing it for us nonetheless. Doing it for ourselves, finding reasons why we are doing something, why we're working hard, is so important. And I think that that is a really beautiful lesson we can learn from this week's Parsha. So I wish you all a wonderful week. And Shabbat Shalom, and I look forward to speaking with you next time.